Oh, Boker Tov, and welcome. Looking forward to the start of another day. I hope yesterday was a terrific day. Take a moment this morning to reflect back on what was. Otherwise, it's so easy just to keep moving forward day to day without taking that moment and getting that additional perspective. So easy to say, so challenging some days to do, huh? Is for me anyway. May the 6th, how did that happen? Just hard to know, huh? Good morning, Anne. I'm so glad you're with us and appreciate all your hard work on the front lines. I'm glad that this gives you a little strength for the essential work that you're doing for us. It means a lot. As we get ready for another morning to share. Morning all. Some really good feelings this morning. That this morning is going to be a start of a good time, a good moment. Well, Boker Tov, and good morning from Temple Sinai. Not from actual Temple Sinai here in the virtual chapel in my living room, but at the same time, it's wonderful to be together, not just in a virtual way, but to see your names on the screen, to know that we're thinking about each other and we're connected to each other. Both those of us who are lucky enough to know each other from Temple Sinai, and those who've joined us who are more than welcome for this moment from Temple Sinai every day to connect, to reflect, and to remember. And this morning, as we gather here on this bright Wednesday morning, we continue a brief journey that we began yesterday through what are known as the Shesh Zechirot, these 6 remembrances, these 6 things that it is traditional to make sure we recall, that we think about each and every day. Yesterday, we began in the list that I'm using. The first of these 6 remembrances is remembering Yetziat Mitzrayim, remembering the Exodus from Egypt. And we talked yesterday, you can find that on Facebook if you missed it, about all of the significance of that. And today, what do we remember? It comes right from the 10 Commandments, the 10 utterances in chapter 20 of the book of Exodus, where it says, Zachor et Yom HaShabbat lekodsho, remember the Sabbath day lekodsho, to make it holy. These few words are very significant and are understood in our tradition to mean a number of things. On the one hand, it being, of course, about Shabbat, which comes one day out of every 7. It's understood, l'kadesh oto al hayayin, to declare the sanctity of the Shabbat over wine or grape juice, to a symbol of joy, that we don't just welcome in Shabbat once a week as a day among days, but much more part of remembering it is pronouncing, is proclaiming, is declaring the nature and the feeling of the day. And so when we talk about remembering Shabbat, we think about the way that Shabbat is declared, both in a day-to-day kind of way, and we want to take a look this morning in the biblical way in which Shabbat was declared and how we make that declaration, not only each and every day, but each and every Shabbat. How is it that we remember Shabbat every day? Tradition tells us, even in the way traditionally Jewish people name the days of the week. The days of the week in our English language have Each of them has their own day that have connections to symbolism and systems that are quite outside of the Jewish cultural purview: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. But we tend to think, if we're used to naming them in Hebrew at all, that we just say them in order: Yom Rishon, Yom Sheni, Yom Shlishi, Yom Revi'i, the first day, the second day, the third day, the fourth day. But as it turns out, actually, the way in which we name those days in Hebrew, in modern Israeli Hebrew as well, is understood to be an abbreviation. That in fact, it's Yom Rishon b'Shabbat, Yom Sheni b'Shabbat, the first day toward Shabbat, the second day toward Shabbat. That in fact, we count and name each and every one of our days with an awareness that we live in a 7-day rhythm, and that each and every day we need to have a bit of that 7th day with us. That in fact, we need to name it even in the way we name each of the days of the week. But how it is we proclaim Shabbat in our tradition goes back to the way in which Shabbat was proclaimed in the first place. That before we make Kiddush on Friday night, it is traditional, and it's part of the Shabbat prayer service as well, to recite the declaration of the 7th day in these 7 days of creation. And these 7 days of creation, the beginning of the structure of the world, the way we look at and understand our existence, is based on and leads up to Shabbat. And here we find these words, and I find the verbs essential because I think they give us a perspective not only for Shabbat once a week, but how Shabbat can be with us each and every day during the week, right? This is the beginning of the 2nd chapter of Genesis. Vayechulu hashamayim va'aretz v'chol tzva'am. The heavens and the earth were finished, and all elements of them. Vayechal Elohim b'yom hashvi'i melachto asher asa. And God completed, can mean on the 7th day, but we've already finished that, and it's understood to mean with the 7th day. That God, in fact, completed creation by making a sanctuary in time, by making a moment. And how do we understand that moment? First of all, Vayechal, just like God finished, so we need to finish those things we're doing, to put down our physical and figurative tools and pause in our partnering with God in creation for the week. Vayishbot, and we need literally, Shabbat is from the root to cease, to stop. That we actually need to stop ourselves for 1 day and remain in that time. So what do we need to do? First, we need to complete. Then we actually need to rest. We need to stop. We need to cease. Vayevarech Elohim, in the next verse, in verse 3, Vayevarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i vayikadesh oto. God blessed the 7th day and declared it holy and sanctified it. Kivo shavat mikom lachto. For on it, God ceased from all work, asher bara Elohim lasot, that the Holy One had created in doing. So these verbs, what do we have to do? We have to stop. Well, we have to complete, have that sense of completion, and then to cease, to stop. Different things. It's one thing to finish a task or a moment or a focus on something. Then we actually, and I find this is what I try to do each morning at this time, is to actually just stop for a moment. Yeah, just to be right here. That alone gives us a sense of perspective. That challenge of Shabbat is with us every day. To stop from our work. V'yavarech, to bless, that means to name it. That we can't really bless, we can't really appreciate, we can't really acknowledge what we have in our lives, in our world, unless we say, wow, look at that incredible gift that I've received. Look at that moment in my life. Look at that challenge and how others help me rise to it. Blessing here, I think, especially in regard to Shabbat, says we have to name it. And then we can make it holy. So each day One of the ways that we remember Shabbat is to celebrate the things we complete, as well as acknowledge those things that we cannot, and by Yishbot, to put them down, to cease for a moment and not drive ourselves constantly so that we're so busy doing, we never have a moment to be. Then we need to name the challenges and the successes, the difficulties and the blessings in our lives, and name them. And then we're ready to experience the holiness within them, to sanctify them. So we can remember Shabbat every day by having the lessons of Shabbat with us. But it's interesting to note that if we go just a little bit back to the end of the first chapter of the book of Bereshit, of the book of Genesis, when we recite these words, the words from chapter 2, as the introduction to the Kiddush, to the prayer of sanctification of Shabbat on Friday nights, we don't begin with the seventh day. We begin with what I'm showing you now, with the last two words of what now is called verse 31 of the first chapter of the book of Genesis. We don't say Vayachulu Hashamayim, we say Yom HaShishi. Vayachulu Hashamayim va'aretz v'chol tzva'am. We say the sixth day. The heavens and the earth were finished and all their array. Why do we do that? It doesn't seem to make a lot of grammatical sense. And I don't think the point is grammatical sense. It's another thing that is essential to Shabbat and that we can remember about Shabbat each and every day, is that in this first chapter, the creation of the world, the division and devising of the structure of our world, both morally and physically, as is imagined in the book of Genesis, it uses the name for God, said Elohim. Now, Elohim is a word that's understood by later rabbinic tradition to refer to God's sense of justice and judgment, morality and right and measurement, right? We can't have a sense of right and wrong if we don't analyze and measure our world, especially in regard to the ethics of our each and every day. But that's only part of our world. And the name for God, Elohim, is understood to symbolize that. And so our world is based in and must be based on a sense of fairness and judgment. At the same time, there's got to be more. The rabbinic tradition says that the world couldn't survive only on strict judgment. We need a balance between judgment and love and acceptance and compassion, which is represented by God's divine name, Yud, He, Vav, He, the four-letter name that we can't pronounce, but that when we see it, we refer to God's power by using the word Adonai. But Yud, He, Vav, He is a verb of being. It's not about judgment. It's about acceptance and presence, and comes to symbolize divine love for humanity and the way in which we can love everyone created in the divine image. And so what are the rabbis doing here when they say Yom HaShishi Vayachulu Hashamayim? Look at the first letter of each of those words. Yud for Yom, He for Shishi, Vav for Vayachulu, He for Shamayim. Yud, He, Vav, He. When we start Shabbat and when we remember Shabbat, we need to remember that as crucial as and important as it is to live a life of morality and justice, to take all of our ethics seriously, we need at the same time to add in those extra words so that we don't forget to bring our heart to the moment, that we don't forget to balance judgment with acceptance, to balance ethics and decision-making with love and hope. And so remembering Shabbat really challenges us to do all those things. It says to us every day, make sure that Shabbat is with you, and that in doing so, that you're willing to acknowledge those things you've completed as well as those things that you can't, that we actually stop and give ourselves moments of recovery, moments to be, that we name those things that make up our life, those relationships, those moments, those elements that help us be who we are. And because when we do that, then every day in honor of Shabbat, we can sanctify our lives. We can live a life that is separate from the mundane and that reminds us of the gifts we have and the incredible gifts that we have the responsibility to give and share with others. It's a small gift that we give every day by making sure that at our time we have together this morning that we pause to share a prayer of refuah. Hopefully these words of healing are also motivating us to do additional acts of healing, to reach out to those who are isolated, to those who are ill, to those who put themselves out on the front lines in order to keep us safe and help our world continue. It's for all of them, and with a commitment to reach out and to continue to share moments with them, that we turn to these words of refuah. מי שברך אבותינו אברהם, יצחק ויעקב ואמותינו שרה רבקה לאה ורחל, הוא ירפא את כל מכותינו. יהי רצון מלפניך אדוני אלוהינו להחלימם ולרפאותם, ישלח לנו מהרה רפואה שלמה ועטרת שלום, ונאמר Amen. When the one who blessed our ancestors bless and heal all who suffer, may it be the divine will to provide healing and strength. Reveal to us the holiness of life, the wholeness of shalom, and together we say, Amen. Yes, and so now, as we have taken a moment, I hope, to pause, yes, and also to reflect, it's time for us to remember. And as we do so, we remember those in our circle of friends, our family, and our community whom death has taken from us in recent days and weeks, in the past 30 days. We extend our condolences to the families of Lauren Barsky, Hannah Glatter, Ruth Kelman, Marcia Mason, Pauline Milrad, Oved Benari. And we also remember all victims of violence and terror, including the 22 victims of the mass shooting in Nova Scotia. And on your site, on this day, on the anniversary of their deaths, on the 12th day of Iyar, the 6th day of the month of May this year, we remember Susan Goldberg, Anne J., Raymond Moses, Aaron Orlin, Harry M. Slater, Isabel Stanley, Simon Vanderheim. Zichronam livracha. May their memories be a blessing to us. Our griefs and our sympathies are mingled as together we turn to words sanctified by memory, words glorified by hope in the Kiddush Yatom. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabba, ve'alma divarach hirute, ve'amlich malchute, v'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'bizman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehe Shmei Rabba Mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudesha b'reichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechemata. Ve'amiran be'alma v'yimru. Amen. Yehe Shlama Rabba min Shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael imru. Amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn, and bring comfort and strength to all who remember. And together we say, Amen. It's been wonderful having a few moments to spend the day, to start the day with you again. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow, being a Thursday morning. We'll be back focused on our weekly parashah, on our Torah portion as well. Make it a wonderful, splendid day. Let's remember all the lessons of Shabbat as we enjoy this day.